price per square foot,
cost per square foot,
price per square foot.
A man walks into a car dealership and asks, "How much is this car per pound?" The salesman looks at him and says, "You're insane. A Ferrari weighs roughly the same cost as a Civic, but the Civic costs $30,000 and the Ferrari, well, it's gonna run you well over 300. So it would seem that this is a completely useless metric, right? But in construction, this is exactly what we do. We ask, what is your price per square foot? It is the single most common question, but
Cost per square foot is not real.
it's completely useless. Today, let's talk cost per square foot. People often ask, what does it cost to build per square foot? The problem is, this number can vary widely depending on the building. Basic warehouse shell might cost $25 to $40 per square foot, while a custom home or mid-rise condo could range from $300 to $400 per square foot. Same unit of measurement, completely different realities. Originally, cost per square foot was a quick estimating tool used by builders in cost guides. It usually referred to the shell of a building. That meant the walls, roof, and basic exterior envelope. But it often left out major costs like foundation, design fees, permits, interior finishes, and appliances. Over time, that simplified number stuck around as a marketing shortcut, even though it rarely reflects the true cost of building. To understand whether cost per square foot is useful or not, it's important to know how we even came to it in the first place. Before the 20th century, if you wanted to build a house, you didn't ask for the price per foot. In Canada, you asked for something called a takeoff. A builder would look at a stack of lumber, a pile of stone, and a crew of craftsmen. They analyzed the blueprints and construction drawings to create a detailed list of materials, quantities, and labor required for a project. Cost was estimated based on units of work. Things like how many bricks can a mason lay in a day, or how many feet of pine are required for the floor. It was a fundamental step in accurate cost estimating, ensuring contractors knew exactly what to order and price. Precise, but it was slow. And then the world went to war. It's 1918, World War I ends. Canada now faces a massive housing shortage. Urbanization is exploding. The government panics. They need homes, and they need them right now. Does that sound familiar? Enter the villains of our story, or maybe they're the heroes. Wartime Housing Limited. The Canadian government passed the first War Measures Act housing scheme. At the end of 1941, they created the Wartime Housing Limited, or the WHL, a federal crown corporation. It addressed a severe housing shortage for war industry workers and returning veterans by building over 40,000 small, rapid construction rental homes between 1941 and 1947, commonly known as the Victory Houses. But they hit a wall. They needed to estimate costs for 40,000 homes all at once. They couldn't do takeoffs for 40,000 individual houses. They needed a shortcut. They turned to this guy, Frederick Winslow Taylor, the father of scientific management. His philosophy was really simple. Treat a house like a car. Don't build it, manufacture it. The scientific management movement, often called Taylorism, provided the intellectual and operational framework that allowed Wartime Housing Limited to treat a house not as a custom piece of architecture, but as a mass-produced industrial product. How did they do this? Well, they applied Taylor's science to construction in 3 brutal steps. Number 1, stop thinking. They took the brain work away from the builders. Workers were assigned a single discrete task. One builder frames the floor, another does the window over and over and over and over again. You follow the instruction card, that's it. 2, eliminate waste. By timing these tasks, managers could identify and remove non-productive movements, establishing a standard time for every action, enabling WHL to calculate exactly how many man-hours were required for one house. Labor was no longer a variable estimate, it became a really fixed unit of cost. Because every house was identical, the cost was identical. A 1,000 square foot Victory house cost exactly the same amount of lumber and nails every single time, no matter where you were or no matter where it was getting built. And this is where the monster was born. Since every house was the same, they could divide the cost by the size. And suddenly, a house wasn't a complex assembly of materials, it was just a number. It worked for the war. Homes were built in as little as 36 hours. But then the war ended, and the metric, well, it stayed. The real turning point for Canada came in 1946 with the creation of the Central Mortgage and Housing Corporation, or as we know it today, the CMHC. In 1946, CMHC needed a way to approve thousands of mortgages really quickly. They looked at those victory houses and they said, great, let's use that math. They began by using average square foot costs to benchmark on everything. And then, well, the real estate agents got involved.
At Century 21, we're making things happen.
In the 1970s and 80s, buyers struggled to compare a Victorian home in Toronto with a new build in Mississauga. So agents used the shortcut. Divide the price by the size. They created a comparable that felt like a fair fight. It turned a home into a commodity, like a bag of flour or a gallon of gas. And here is the problem. We aren't building victory houses anymore. What we're building is custom homes for everybody. And mathematically, that price per square foot, it doesn't work. Cost per square foot breaks down because it treats all spaces as equal when it's clearly not.
I think it puts people in a very vulnerable situation.
What? Explain that. What does that even mean?
It puts people in a very dangerous situation because the cost per square foot, it's a very loaded question.
But who's danger? Us or them?
Them.
Really?
It's dangerous for them. It's not dangerous for us.
Explain that. That actually is kind of a cool statement.
Because if the clients don't understand what's included in the cost per square foot, what kind of appliances are in there, what kind of hardwood, what kind of light fixtures, what kind of kitchens, what kind of sinks, what kind of toilets, what kind of vanities, all this stuff.
When you're meeting with homeowners and you're putting together a cost per square foot analysis, let's call it, what would you cover in that? Does it cover just your base build, or are you actually approaching it with all of the components that you would try and apply in the circumstances where you're trying to come up with that number?
To understand the real cost of construction, you have to think of it as a stack. You start with a shell and then add mechanical systems, interiors, site work, soft costs, and contingency. Each layer represents a decision that affects both quality and price.
To be honest with you, I don't put together a cost per square foot. What I do is I turn around and I ask the clients and I ask them, what kind of foundation do you want? Do you want an ICF foundation? Do you want a poured foundation? Do you want a block foundation? What kind of foundation do you want? And obviously the clients turn around to me and go, I don't know what any of those things are.
Yeah.
And I said, well, all of those things have different price points. And so if you want me to give you a cost per square foot, I'm just gonna have to pick one of those. And if you're asking other builders, which
That's the worst, because someone's gonna come and they're gonna give you a quote
They're gonna
that
give
is
you-
missing like 3/4 of everything that you have.
of course,
That's the best.
windows and doors, a perfect example. So I can give you a cost per square foot for vinyl windows, or I can give you a cost per square foot for fiberglass windows, or aluminum clad, wood windows. All three have huge price differences and a huge variable in price. So usually when I turn around and ask a client which one of those things did they want, and they say, I don't know, then I have to turn around to them and say, well, I also don't know.
Quoting a price per square foot before seeing the architectural drawings is like quoting the price of a blue car without knowing if it's a 1998 Honda Civic or a 2024 Porsche 911. The industry is stuck with this relic from 1941. Banks use it, agents use it, clients expect it. I didn't want to be biased and state this without seeing if the same story goes for other builders. So I met with two others, one residential, just like me, and the other in commercial, just to see what they had to say.
Cost per square foot is not real. I think it's something they set up from back in the days, and they have these, prices. If this is what you want, this is what you get for this price, for this price, for this price. But I don't think it's real, because I think is really what the client wants, and the client wants something that's always different than what is set for these prices.
When did you first see cost per square foot come up? And is it something that's used regularly in commercial construction or is it not?
So glad that you asked, Chris. I have private individual clients that are into new builds, interior renovations. Then I have asset management companies that owns apartment rental properties.
So you had two different types of clients. You have the client that's asset management that is kind of disconnected from their property,
Yeah.
but then you have the personal connection similar to a residential client,
Right.
who needs to obviously be aware of what they're
Yes.
spending on their project.
100%.
Okay, give me the asset management perspective.
So these asset management companies have a building full of people working for them.
Okay,
Architects, engineers, designers, right? So when they buy a property and they're ready to renovate the whole property, which is all the units, all the hallways, all the lobbies, all the common areas.
yeah,
Their team, their building full of people, what they do is they'll put a budget together. So everything is already pre-planned.
so they come into it already with knowledge on
Yes.
what the job should cost.
Yeah, yes.
So do they use cost per square foot?
That I'm not sure. We don't calculate square footage with these asset management company. We calculate how it's going to take
Yeah.
to build what they want to build,
Yeah.
and what the material cost is going to be, what the labor cost is going to be, and
Yeah.
then we fit their budget, and that's how it is.
Wow, that's such
Yeah.
that's like the best way that you could ever do it.
Yeah.
No wonder they have it like locked down. So as we know, cost per square foot is a really inaccurate way of trying to discern how to be, in the knowledge of pricing for when you're trying to look at building. What's a better way?
What I typically say to the clients who come to me and say, listen, I want to buy this house, I want to do A, B, and C to it. How much is it going to cost per square foot? I do the same thing.
It's like the worst feeling in the world. You're just like, what?
I'm like, oh no, please don't do this. What I explain to them is kind of what we talked about before. Don't put yourself in a vulnerable position. I can tell you $300 a square foot. I can tell you $600 a square foot. I can tell you $900 a square foot. But what does any of that mean?
It means the guy who gives the 250 is going to beat you.
We all know they're going to pay 500 at least, right? So what I ask them is I go, listen, don't spend any money with me. Go out, find an architect, find a BCI, and find someone who's going to give you a preliminary set of drawings.
Yeah.
That'll tell me how many windows, that'll tell me how many doors, that'll tell me what kind of materials going on the outside of your house. It'll give me a rough idea how big that kitchen's gonna be. It'll tell me how many bathrooms are going in there. So if you're really serious, Chris, as a client about this work that you wanna do over here, go drop $3,000-$4,000 on these drawings, whatever it is, and go buy that insurance. Then take those drawings, give them out to contractors like you and I, and say, how much is this gonna cost?
Well, there is a way for cost per square foot to work.
For modular, I can see that they can come up with a pretty accurate square footage cost. For modular, I can definitely see that.
For companies like Royal Homes that assemble homes with assembly lines, cost per square foot actually works because everything is standardized. Like in the 40s with Taylorism, there's a need to rapidly produce thousands of homes, and that's where we'll find a viable use for cost per square foot. So that settles that. Cost per square foot, it doesn't seem like it's a helpful metric unless we're industrializing the process of building homes. Like always, like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.